Steve Lazarides, and you're here at the Lazinc Gallery, and we've got our May '68 poster show on.
So there's a lot of posters in this show.
There are.
And as I understand, it's the first time that this series of works has been exhibited since what, 2008, something like that?
It's a decade since they were last seen. So they were part of a show at the Hayward Gallery, and I've got a deep-seated love of all things like political poster-wise. And I really want this show, and then we picked up some ephemera like the riot helmet and other stuff that tied in with it. And then when the 50th anniversary came around, it seemed the perfect time to break it out and show it to the general public again.
Because this is quite a new gallery, isn't it? So to put a show of posters from this event in 1966, that's quite a big commitment,
we're trying to switch things up, so we're doing kind of, fine art shows, but also putting on cultural events as well to keep things relevant. Just because something normally doesn't pay the rent shouldn't be a reason for not having it on the walls.
So is there something about an education piece that you're wanting to give to the general public?
Kind of, and it's just like, I love the aesthetic of the posters, and it just seemed the perfect timing. Seeing as there's so much going on in the world that people should be commentating on but aren't, it seemed a good kind of point in time to show people what's possible when people kind of collectively put their minds to something.
So what happened in May '68? What was the?
And you had the student revolution, and then what happened was the students were revolting, and then other people got involved as well. So it was a very left-wing movement. So you had bus drivers, newspaper people. The reason a lot of these posters are on the kind of paper they are is a lot of people that worked at the newspaper would bring them rolls of paper to print on. So it was kind of a collective movement from the left to try and point out kind of all the ills of the world at that point in time.
Well, there's something about, because you've got a big connection with street art and the birth of this movement.
Well, the thing is, this movement in kind of, I think, political posters have influenced three of the biggest graffiti artists out there. If you think there's a guy called Black Larac that almost definitely took his imagery from the rat poster in the other room, and then he went on to inspire Banksy, and then you also got people like Shepard Fairey, who's far more influenced by communist political posters than he is by graffiti art. But it's the same ethos. It was people it was the disenfranchised and dispossessed using the street to put their message out. So it's just they used a different format in the fact they were using posters in the way that Banksy was using stencils. So it's that way of getting your message out when your message is blocked everywhere else.
So you think this whole thing where these posters were being used, sort of perfect storm, if you like, you've got students that are willing to do this, and you've got newspaper involved, so you've got the sort of paper. Do you think is that a seminal moment then in terms of what we can look back and see the world of?
I think the Paris '68 thing was probably one of the most kind of concerted efforts by counterculture to put a message out there. There's been lots of other counterculture movements. If you think the Black Panthers were doing it with newspapers and their imagery. So it's been, there was the anti-draft movement in the US. So there's been a few movements that have been really strong that use posters. And I think, as the kind of world of kind of printed media has disappeared, then people are using, if you think, a modern version of it would be something like the Me Too movement.
So, is there any posters that you particularly take a shine? Let's have a look, shall we?
I think one of my favourite, actually, I think,
So this is the rat one?
The rat one,
So you think that this was one of the sort of things that might have inspired Bleck himself?
I think so, yeah. And then there's things that where things just haven't changed. People are still commenting on things like this about immigration. This is something that people were commenting on 50 years ago. That if you think, France has got all sorts of trouble with its kind of the way that immigrants are viewed, and that's obviously not changed in the last 50 years. So I think one of the good things about getting these posters out is, one, to show what was happening at the time, but to also show how relevant some of these ideas are in today's society.
And the other posters you got? What's this one here? The one because I came here last night just to have a picture.
My French is non-existent, unfortunately. But I really like it. I really like this piece as well.
Yeah, Lord Arena.
I don't know what your French is.
No, my French is probably just as bad. I was taken by this one, and I noticed in the centrepiece of this.
Because this one's obviously one that's been taken off the street, whereas everything else is kind of You know, I quite like the fact that the irreverence and the fact that they were folded up and put in bags, and you know, none of this was was ever meant to be for sale. I don't think any of it was ever really meant to be in a gallery. I think it just shows the power of the movement in the fact that people are still this interested in it, in this point in time.
Do we know who printed them? Do we know?
It's called L'Atelier Populaire, and they never wanted to be the author of the pieces to be known, so it was always supposed to be anonymous. And what they do is they'd have an assembly in the evening of like different people who would decide on what the images were that were to be printed. So like images were put forward, a vote was taken, it was printed, and then it was posted up on the street.
So how did they come into this collection then? Because they were never meant to be seen. They'll have been battered by rain, wind, all that sort of stuff. Yet here you've got
people are always collecting. The visuals of them are so great. It's that kind of thing that people would have always wanted to keep them. So any of these things still exist. It's like, why do any of the communist posters still exist? They printed millions of them. They were throwaway things that went up on the street, but you can still find them. And I think it's the same with this.
In the other room, you've got a printing press. Can you show me this?
Yeah.
Because I think this is quite an interesting little...
Well, we just wanted to kind of, show people how stuff like this may have been done at the time. With just, your screen. This is, shows how easy it is to like print posters and get a message out there. All you need is a screen, a squeegee, and some ink. And that's it. You've got your political movement up and running.
And it's quite a quick process, wasn't it? So quick screen printing.
Oh,
boom, boom.
It's literally seconds to get. Once you've got the screen made, it's literally seconds to actually get the print itself made up.
And you can easily. Look at these. How long did this take? No time at all.
No time at all.
I should imagine.
So we printed hundreds of them and got taken on the opening night. So.
Oh, is that right?
Well, we thought we'd kind of, like to make something that people could take away.
Oh, that's a good idea.
In the ethos of like the Paris '68 and everything being free, and giving people something that they can take away.
So in homes all over London, we've got French Revolutionary Posters sort of hanging in the walls now.
With loads of really confused children going, "Mum, why's that on the wall?"
So looking back now, we're in 2018. It's been 50 years since this. What sort of key messages do you think we can take from this?
I think I think hopefully it's a call to action for people who want to get word out there. I still think that posters still have their part in the world. If you think that, you look back at someone like Shepard Fairey's Hope poster. It's a poster that in no small way helped a black man get voted in to be the president of the United States. And it did play a small part in it, and it's kind of, they still have their power. And I think, I think people should take it, if, collectively you get together, then you can put a very strong message out.
Steve, thanks very much.
That's all right, pleasure.